morning, beautiful one. Matt here. Welcome to another session on Intention Inspired, where we take time for ourselves to get to know who we are so we can live with more intention, more inspiration, more gratitude, more of what we want. I always do these podcast sessions shortly after rolling out of bed, drinking some Relive, cup of coffee, do my morning pages, and then I get right into my session. So these are often the first words that I speak into the day. So I appreciate you for tuning in with me as we receive some vibrations into our ears to prime us for the day. And today we are on day 2 of our 3 days of self-awareness journey created by the wonderful Marva Midkiff over in the art room at Intention Inspired. And today we are going to be enhancing our self-awareness through one of the greatest practices, and that is observation. We may think that we have no choice but to observe the way we act, the things we say, the things we do, the things we are triggered by. That is observation on a surface level, and we generally chalk that up to the way I am. Most of the time, we're on autopilot, running the same old programs and conditionings that have been running for years, and these states of being seem like who we are. To evolve as consciousness and become more self-aware, we need to become very observant as we travel on this journey. We need to become the watcher, as Eckhart Tolle and many others say. Eckhart Tolle says, "Be the silent watcher of your thoughts and behavior. You are beneath the thinker. You are the stillness beneath the mental noise. You are the love and joy beneath the pain." So how do we become the watcher? Well, the good news is that with practice, we can begin to become aware of the voices in our head and what happens internally when we hear them. Instead of reacting from the script that we always use or judging ourselves or someone else, we can find ourselves present, focused, and curious about what is happening. We can take the first step right now. Join me. Just start listening to the voice in your head as often as you can. What is it saying right now? Pay particular attention to any repetitive thought patterns, especially when a person or experience triggers a change in your emotional state. This is where a journal can come really in handy, and we'll do a little journal prompt here in a second. And you can start to document the patterns in as much detail as possible, or just write down experiences that cause an emotional charged reaction. And we do this without analysis, judgment, or trying to change anything. We're just observing, just noticing. So if you have your journal handy, go ahead and ask yourself, what are my voices saying? Which conversation between your body, emotions, and those voices cause you to want to react rather than know more? Go ahead and take a moment and observe and document those conversations. So for me, when I, in the smallest sense, feels like it knows, I limit more curiosity, and ironically, prevent further knowing. Noticing this, observing this, when I, in the larger sense, release the small comfort zone of the known, what is unknown and often more true has the opportunity to be seen. When I embrace the unknown, uncertain, and impermanent nature of my voices and all things, I feel more at peace with what is. I can look even closer to what arises, and I appreciate it for what it more truly is. All right, you got your snorkel? It's time to go for a deep dive. So psychological triggers can be tricky. They can be deep and hidden in our subconscious. We have accepted them as ourselves when actually they were conditioning that we adopted, typically in childhood, as protection and coping tools. As adults, they are soundtracks and patterns of behavior that in most cases no longer serve us and in many cases are causing us higher stress. A trigger can manifest by any sense reaction, a smell, a taste, a word or phrase or perception, many small and seemingly insignificant or unrelated manifestations that cause us to react in a patterned way. So is there any way to alter these triggers? Of course. Number one, we learn our stress trigger. According to what science currently knows, when we experience a trigger, our hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, HPA axis, kicks off a complex process of self-protection that readies us for three possible actions: fight, flight, or freeze. Our adrenaline spikes, and stress hormones like cortisol course through our bodies and brain. Once these stress hormones are released, anxiety soars, and we often lose touch with our healthy coping skills and succumb to reactions like lashing out or running away. Learning to recognize that you are being triggered as soon as the signs start in your body is the first step. Each one of us has a unique stress signature. One of three things usually throws us into the fight, flight, or freeze response: increased heart rate, sweating, or muscle tension. So pay close attention next time you feel triggered and see which of these is most prominent for you. Number two, we can pause, calm our body, and focus on our breath and what we are feeling. We document our findings. All of this information can lead to greater self-awareness. And number three, we can practice tuning into our body and what it is trying to tell us several times a day, triggered or not. As stress levels arise, our tendency is to tune into what is happening outside of ourselves. We've become so conditioned to that feeling place outside of ourselves that we've become disconnected from the wisdom that our body holds. There are so many great meditations that focus on our connection to our body. So go try some and document your findings. Thank you so much for joining on today's intentional session of observation as we cultivate more self-awareness. It is very important that when we listen to that voice, we do not judge. Just note the particulars until you can see the patterns. And once you begin to observe yourself in action, in the moment, without judgment, you become accountable for creating the life you want. There is so much power in that. We gain a whole new level of self-awareness. So what about you? What inspired you during today's intentional session on observation? There's a link in the description if you want to join us on our activity feed on Intention Inspired. We would love to hear from you and journey with you. Thank you for joining us. I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow on our last day of 3 days of self-awareness as we explore creativity, peace, love, and observation.